very good evening to all of you. I'm Juhi Rajput and you're watching Win-Win Power News. Power is one of the key contributors for the development of a country's socio-economic infrastructure. Well, last year could well be described as filling in the gaps year for Indian power sector. The areas that were left unattended or underattended received their due, creating a more stable, secure and market-driven environment. There was greater private sector participation in generation, transmission and distribution, equipment manufacturing and EPC, power trading and power exchange. As a result, substantial gains were achieved. Competition as well as regulation resulted in improved efficiency. In today's episode, we are going to take a look on the current Indian power scenario and the course of changes it has gone through in recent times. In the first segment today, we'll take a look at latest ongoings in the generation, transmission and distribution sectors.
The power generation industry in India is poised for a major structural change in the coming years, with increased private ownership and a more diversified fuel mix. Investor interest in power generation is quite significant, with investments flowing in for equipment manufacturing, advanced technology and merchant power. The passage of the National Action Plan for Climate Change and the decision of the Nuclear Supplier Group to allow its members to engage in civilian nuclear technology trade with India have also opened up new avenues for an exponential increase in the share of renewables and nuclear in overall fuel mix. In generation, the UMPPs made a significant progress. The fourth UMPP, located in Tilaiya, Jharkhand, was awarded to Reliance Power in February 2009. Competitive bidding and economies of scale in UMPPs led to new price discoveries. In fact, allocation of captive coal mines to generators was a positive move that attracted a lot of players. The captive segment continued to grow.
Yeah, it's a huge investment is coming from the private sector. And the way in which you can see in consideration of 10th plan, the 11th plan, the private sector's number of companies have come, hundreds of companies have come now, and it is very much encouraging.
So far, it has been a critical year for the transmission sector in the country. The launch of the National Load Dispatch Centre promises a synchronous operation of the national grid and smooth power transfers across the 5 regional load dispatch centres, in turn connected to 31 state load dispatch centres. The separation of state load dispatch centres from transmission companies as well as of trading activity from transmission companies has also started. The emphasis is on prior planning of transmission linkages for new projects, and many more private transmission projects have taken off.
As the capacity in the country is being built up for more and more capacity generation, that means power generation, the transmission capability has to match. And if more and more players participate, certainly that will add, and that will be very helpful to the sector.
However, due to lack of adequate investment on T&D works, the T&D losses have been consistently on higher side. The reduction of these losses was essential to bring economic viability to the state utilities. High technical losses in the system are primarily due to inadequate investments over the years for system improvement works, which has resulted in unplanned extensions of the distribution lines, overloading of the system elements like transformers and conductors, and lack of adequate reactive power support.
The government has tried to remove roadblocks and ensure on-the-ground progress. While it continues its emphasis on aggregate AT&C loss reduction, the launch of the RAPDRP is aimed at encouraging IT deployment and technology uptake by state utilities. The steering committee on RAPDRP has already approved projects for 423 towns in the states of Gujarat, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. The estimated cost of these projects is 1,614 crore. Prior to these, 599 projects at the cost of 1,947 crore were approved for 13 states. With these, the total cost of 1,022 projects approved for implementation by the Ministry of Power is about 3,561 crore. This will give a boost to IT and electrical equipment sector of Indian industry.
Based on the example of the countries where reforms have been introduced, reformers are of the view that vertically integrated state-owned power utilities are incapable of functioning along commercial lines. And unless they are unbundled and competition is introduced, a market for private investment cannot be created. After much debate and discussion, the restructuring and reforms of the SAPs has been started in some states. It is expected that after restructuring, imbalances and inefficiencies will be identified and localized, and the financial health of the SAPs should improve. But at the same time, unbundling has to be accompanied by internal reforms to make it effective. Unbundling by itself is no solution. It has to be accompanied by good corporate governance. Here we'll take a short break. Keep watching Win-Win Power News.